Men are like, oh, women are like this. And they've got some valid points. A lot of women are not the most wife-worthy women that you would want to marry and be a mother to your child. But then women are like, oh, men are like this. And they've got some valid points because most men are not the kind of quality man that you would want to settle down with and feel like he could lead you. There's valid points on both sides, but there's this constant war. It's not even coming from firsthand experience or secondhand experience. It's some story, because there's this story of this woman who divorced this guy and took all his money and the kids and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I know that does happen, but most guys that are saying this or quoting statistics about this kind of stuff, it's just some urban legend of a thing, because they don't cite an actual person. They don't cite an actual case. It's not someone they actually knew. Or they say, oh, it's just so vague. If you go to places like Colombia or Russia or wherever you could think of where women are docile and they respect men and they serve their men, their master, that type of thing, because that's what these guys are thinking they want, is a complicit woman that's just going to obey his every command. It is true that in some of those cultures, you will see that behavior. But in those cultures also, you will see extremely masculine men who are very demanding and dominant, aggressive.
The topic is passport bros. And if you don't know what passport bros are, because most women, I'm sure, have no idea what that is.
Right? There are so many code words.
This is a man term.
Yeah, to the man lingo.
That they use to mean that you should not date Western women, aka American women, and you should get your passport and go find you a wife in a different country.
Yeah.
Aka passport bros. So when this comment popped up and I responded back to it, it just kind of led to John and I having this really long conversation. We're on the same page about it, but
yeah,
I think it needs to be said because men don't even understand what passport bros really means and really entails. And everybody that you see online, all like the incel guys are like, yeah, passport bros, or like, you just go get a non-Western woman or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just hear this stuff and they regurgitate it. And if they stopped and like actually tried to plan out what this would entail, which we were talking about, that was our discussion and we'll discuss today, it does not end up the way that they actually think.
No, they just go to Colombia and, hook up with a hooker
but they don't
and then get robbed.
Actually do that. Like, they don't even actually do that. They're just sitting here perpetuating.
From their, pontificating on.
Right. It's like
some
a
of them do.
fantasy.
Some of them do go to Colombia.
Right. I'm not saying they don't go at all.
And there's so many schemes. There's so many tourist schemes there to catch guys like this and
they
rob
think
them,
that's better than American
they're literally
women
getting picked up by a prostitute and they don't even know. It's like there's a lot of stuff.
Oh, they know. Oh, they know. Did you find the comment?
Okay, I found the comment. All right. All these videos should be talking about the elephant in the room. American women make the worst girlfriends, wives, and mothers on earth. Majority are selfish, annoying, unhappy, anxious, overweight, and insufferable. Be one of their 100 dicks, soft guy, era date them, zero effort, drizzle, recreational use only. When you're done playing around, go overseas and find a long-term partner who was raised by two parents with proper role modeling and secure emotional attachments. Otherwise, very good chance your expensive gamble on an emotionally damaged American woman has you in divorce court opposite a lying, cheating, vindictive American ex-wife/mother who destroys your family for all the property and a monthly check that makes it impossible for you to start over. And now the kids are fucked. Take a vacation overseas and ask anyone what they think of American women. You'll also be shocked how easy it is to date and fall in love with a woman who isn't ruined by a toxic culture to become overweight, overbearing, uncaring. The rest of the world doesn't hate men. Airplane emoji. And I do have to point out, though, because I did, look at his profile. I'm like, this guy, he's got a lot of followers. He's got like 144K followers. Now, he's got some reels on his account, and all of them have exactly 50K views. So it's a little bit suspect. But in his bio, he does mention that that all his followers came from viral undie videos during lockdown, deleted don't ask, careful what you wish for. So I did, unfortunately, look to see what he was talking about, because he did actually post a video that's supposed to be deleted, and it's him standing in his underwear with his, with
You
his flag flying.
you literally gave him way more credit than,
look,
or like just even bringing up his profile. I wouldn't even like everything you just recited that he said. If I roll my eyes as hard as I want to, they'll never come back to the front of my face.
But
so yeah, I responded to that.
Yes.
In the way of many things, but yeah, that's a lot to digest. So I guess, do you want to go ahead or I can go ahead?
Well, okay. There's a few points I think that are worth saying.
Okay.
Some of what he said is somewhat accurate, right? In terms of, we live in a culture where, unfortunately, a lot of women are given the wrong message about men, about how they should behave, all those things. That's why also part of the mission of this podcast is to help women and men.
Well, what's the wrong message? Because you're saying they're given the wrong message, but I think they haven't encountered a lot of real men, masculine men.
I agree. It's weird because we were talking about this last night too. It's not like there's one source of the problem, that it's because, and there's this constant war, right? Men are like, oh, women are like this. And they've got some valid points. A lot of women are not the most wife-worthy women that you would want to marry and be a mother to your child. But then women are like, oh, men are like this. And they've got some valid points because most men are not the kind of quality man that you would want to settle down with and feel like he could lead you, right? So there's valid points on both sides, but there's this constant war, right? So my point is that, what's happening is that a lot of these valid points, they end up getting turned into a slander instead of something that is constructive, right? Because, hey, we were talking about last night. I mean, I hate to use the terminology, but like there's this term, it's a dumb term. There's a lot of dumb terms called hoflation. Okay. And it's about this idea that specifically Western women, that they have a higher perceived value of themselves because of all the, another word, simp culture of guys just giving them stuff and treating them like celebrities and liking all their photos and stuff like that. So they have a higher estimation of themselves. And there's some truth to it, right? However, when you call it hoflation,
you lose all your credibility.
Yeah, you lose all credibility. No women are listening to that. It's not helping you. You're just
no one is because it's not like presented in an educated, actually informative, trying to help people understand way. Anytime and like we were talking about, like when women say mansplaining.
Exactly.
It's the same sort of term, which like I understand what you're trying to convey, even with men. But instead of actually explaining it the way that you should explain it, you use a term like that.
That's derogatory. Exactly.
Right. Well, and then it just makes you look immature. It makes you look like you're now angry when you're trying to discuss this, which makes you appear biased rather than being able to see both sides of the situation and explain one perspective in a way that's matter of fact. Because if you use one of these terms, now you sound exactly like the people who use those terms often, which with guys, with the hoflation, that's men who hate women, and women with mansplaining, it's usually women who are angry at men and are mad at men. So yeah, it's like that whole comment that you just read is just littered with that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like a copy and paste. Like when I saw that comment, I'm like, where did you get this from? You got this from the source that all of these guys got this from, right? Believe me, I know because I was somewhat part of that community. Not that I was part of the community in the sense that I preached these things. I'm saying that like I was in that.
You were trying to preach the right things.
And so I heard these dialogues and like I said, in some variations, some parts of it are accurate, but it's like you didn't think for yourself. You just copy and pasted this, mentally copy and pasted this from someone told you this. And with a lot of this stuff, it's not even coming from firsthand experience or secondhand experience. It's some story, because there's this story of this woman who divorced this guy and took all his money and the kids and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I know that does happen, but most guys that are saying this or quoting statistics about this kind of stuff, it's just some urban legend of a thing because they don't cite an actual person. They don't cite an actual case. It's not someone they actually knew, right? Or they say, oh, it's just so vague.
The thing is, too, that even in those situations, they assume that a woman left a man just because she was bored. That never happens.
Right.
Unless they did not have any sort of actual meaningful relationship. A woman will never leave a man because she's bored. It's normally because she is tired of feeling unloved by the man that she's with. She's tried to fix it oftentimes in the wrong way. I will say that. Women a lot of times do not know how to fix the relationship and how to convert a man into the loving man that she wants. And then she finally reaches her point where she's like, this is never going to change. I have to do something. And she leaves. It's never she's bored with her husband and wants a new one. That never happens. That is more likely to happen with a single woman or a woman that's dating.
Sure.
Rather than a married woman, especially if she has kids. Like, I'm not saying that every mother is perfect, but most women who have kids do not want their husband to not be in their kids' lives.
Right. Yeah.
Because they understand what it would do to the child.
Yeah. And of course, you can find some exceptional cases.
Right. I'm not saying it never, ever happens, but
the
majority.
When guys make comments like this, they're trying to make it sound like that's the majority. And again, like I said, some of the values that American values that women have are not great ones. So, but we talk about that on this podcast all the time. But the same thing with men, right? So we're trying to set those values correctly. But stuff like that does not help. And getting into really the meat of it, this idea that you could go somewhere else in the world where women are so much better.
Right. And all your problems will be solved.
It's such a dumb one, okay? Because if you go to places like Colombia or Russia or wherever you could think of where women are docile and they respect men and they serve their men, their master, that type of thing. Because that's what these guys are thinking they want is a complicit woman that's just going to obey his every command. It is true that in some of those cultures, you will see that behavior. But in those cultures also, you will see extremely masculine men who, and not masculine, not even necessarily in a good way, but who are very demanding and dominant, aggressive, right? And so in those cultures, because women are usually suppressed and they don't have any other option, they do obey those men. They do.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you go there and you're a weak, we didn't talk about men in America, but if you're a weak wuss of a guy,
which is the majority,
right? And especially if you have to leave your own country to go and try to find a wife. So, okay. And you go there and you meet a woman there. You think she's going to respect you as soon as she figures out that you're a pushover, that you're not this guy, that there's you haven't been raised in that culture. Enough. Yeah, you're not manly enough. She's gonna run your ass over because she's worse than American women in the sense that she will sense that
whatever
weakness.
She can. Like, that's what they don't understand is that women in those situations will do whatever they need to do because it's about survival. Right. When you're with an aggressive man who represses you, it's about survival.
Right.
So when they are with a man that they can walk all over and do whatever they want, she's going to take lead because she actually was around a manly man, an aggressive man. I mean, like you said, it's not masculine in the way that it should be, the correct way.
Right.
But that has rubbed off on her. Exactly. She just can't use it towards him.
Right.
But what makes you think she won't use it towards you? And my thing is, too, that a lot of what these men talk about when they talk about passport bros is countries where women don't speak English. It's never about the UK. It's never about France or Spain or those countries where they might be more inclined to speak English. Never about Greece. It's never about, Italy. Right. It's about countries where, like you said, they're used to these hyper-aggressive sort of men.
Exactly.
That don't usually speak a lot of English. Right. And so they want to go find one of these women that seem more, reserved and won't talk as much because they don't even know English.
Right. Exactly.
What they don't realize too, that in all of these countries, a lot of these women as well that have been repressed want to come to America.
Right. Exactly.
So that they're not repressed. And so
Right.
they will marry you
Right.
to come to America.
Right.
And you're so afraid, these men, you're so afraid of a woman taking half of your stuff in a divorce.
Right.
And you're not afraid that a foreign woman who marries you to come to America will take half of your stuff in a divorce?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. And you know what? And you think they're not good at playing the game?
Right.
They know the game.
They don't live in America. They have to do what they have to do to survive.
Right.
And a lot of things over in different countries are legal that aren't legal here.
Right.
That women do to survive.
And so you're going to go over there. Maybe you go over there and you get duped. The woman treats you like a king. She acts like she respects you and whatever. Or maybe she even just thinks that you're tough until she figures out not.
Right.
And then you come back to America with her, right? She waits the 9 months or whatever the seasoning period is to get the
green card
or whatever, And then she's like, first of all, one thing that happens is she might have just been duping you from the beginning, which is most likely the case. So then her true colors come out and she's like, you're not going to stop me.
And now you're married to her.
And then, or second, she gets exposed to American culture, which it's dumb to think that everyone in the world hasn't been exposed to this culture.
Right.
It's like, you think people don't have the internet? You think that they're not watching the same podcasts and watching the same movies and stuff? Like, yeah, maybe they have a little bit more traditional values, but they know about it. It's no secret. Okay. So, but let's say that she doesn't know about it, or, now she has friends and they're these trashy American women. So you think that she's not going to be like, oh, hey, now
I can do this now.
Right. Exactly. So it's just short-sighted thinking. It's dumb. It's not going to solve the problem.